Dave, can you go and tell Angus and Matt? Come back. Oh, sorry.
Brilliant. So who's ready to go first? Who's going to share a story of hope?
Thanks, Joe.
I'll let you go first.
She shared it with me. It was really good. So I was sharing it.
Would you like to come on up and share?
Yeah.
You don't have so much.
Okay.
You're making me not go first. I think you need a.
Hey.
I work at a school in Dalston, and it's just really heartening to see all the children together, all races, all religions, all colours, just coming together and being as one. It's just amazing. So that's
Brilliant.
That's
good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tim did the same thing.
The wife did the same thing.
We did the same thing.
And that's
Slightly more Heath Robinson. No scissors.
Do you want to share why you've done it?
I'm governor at the same school, and the thing that really gives me hope is I see the children at that school and they don't actually see colour, they don't see race, they don't see religion, and I think that's a joy to behold on the kind of the generations that are coming after us. And I think especially this week it's something that we should all become very proud of, that we're instilling Christian values and kind of, and they don't see the same things that our fathers and mothers did, and that some of our generations did.
I think you hold up your...
And did you guys stand side by side and hold it
Thank you so much. Who else would like to share? Angus.
We got
Wow. It's going to be a treat.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're the less manic street preachers.
Explain the lyrics a bit.
Oh, so this is just this is kind of a story about a girl called Hope. And it's also about hope. Kind of on many levels. Try and keep up. Hope will give us power, wiping clean our angry streets, to see some signs, building our Jerusalem. There was a girl called Hope. The bank came and took away her house. Helpless she cried, Lord have mercy on Hope. We don't talk about hate, we only want to share love, 'cause we are here to share the love, 'cause we are told that this is the way, a design for our life, a design
10 minutes. How do you come up with that melody? Thank you so much for that. Any other bullet points welcome to, don't forget. So, yeah.
This is our metaphor for the chain reaction of good things. Because Christine was talking about cool stuff that she's going to recap in a minute. Or do you want to just start it? I'll start now.
So just saying, there's lots of random, we've just been to Walthamstow, there's lots of random Facebook groups, and there just seems a real community swell of action towards refugees and the jungle in Calais, and people doing random wonderful things like mobilising people to make massive batches of flapjacks, and then trying to get like 700 flapjacks together, all dropped off at a local deli that someone's going to take off to the jungle and distribute. And they're all like annotated little drawings from the packages from children, and just all these things that you think like, oh, it's this big, awful, terrible, huge problem, what can we do about it? And there's people making flapjacks and doing like collections of, gathering, got Amazon gift lists so people can give sun hats and sun cream, and then gathering them together. It's just like a few individual people doing very cool, practical things.
And that made me think of something that's happened at my work, which is there's a guy whose mum actually works for an organisation called The Bridge, and she's been working with people in the jungle. And so he has sort of got drawn in through that, and regularly been driving his car over on the weekends to take supplies, and would send an email around our work going, oh, these are the things I know they need, if you can spare them, bring them in. Which is like, okay, fine, so his mum is already involved, so it kind of makes sense that he's probably getting drawn in. But the thing I loved was that somebody else then responded at work saying, actually, if you can't get this stuff to the collection point, bring it to my desk and I will take it to the collection point. So it's like this, as I say, like a chain reaction of somebody starts something who's maybe really skilled and really equipped because she's worked in that area for 20 years of her life, her son gets drawn in because he's seen it, and then somebody else gets drawn in because they hear about what he's doing. And it kind of has this trickle-down effect, which is kind of cool.
It's very fun. Thank you so much. We need to hear these stories, don't we? I feel like my heart's being lifted up by these wonderful stories. Okay, all right.
Okay.
We're doing an interpretive dance. We aren't.
Right, so as you can expect, as I was with Joel and Pete, they spent 7 of the 10 minutes cracking jokes about beer and
Hope.
So after I share all the examples of hope that I could think of, they sat still for about 60 seconds where I attempted to draw a henna across both of their hands. But of course,
It makes one picture.
Oh.
Yeah. Hope.
It's pretty hopeless being in a group of these
The
people.
reason the henna.
Okay, right, so that's the hope, right? So where we live in Hackney, it's pretty eclectic and multicultural. There's a sort of a large group of the gentrification crew that have moved in and redone houses and things like that. And there's also council blocks and all sorts of things. Anyway, at my at Eden School, we went to a fair day, and there was a really lovely mix of lots of different multicultural representations. There was a lady there. One of the mums was doing henna on the children's hands, but then there was also a couple of parents who set up a stall and were doing their jerk chicken recipe, and then there was like just classic Victoria sponge cakes for people. So just this really lovely kind of thing. And then also tomorrow there's a street party on our road, and so they block off the whole street and they invite everyone out of their houses for lunch. So it's like the our street and then the council block at the end, and then at the opposite side. So it's just this opportunity to for the whole sort of neighborhood and surrounding area to get together and have, share a meal and that sort of thing. And then we were talking about how, is there a distinction between the hope that we bring as Christians and then what sort of our government-led initiatives for community? And we sort of talked a little bit about just because we see that coming from the government doesn't mean that's not an echo of the image of God within humanity expressing itself through that sort of initiative. So. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Gosh. show you one beautiful one. So, in case you can, it's dimples of hope. Across the historic David and the Crescent. Now, I think I've gone to local organisations where they look after the homeless. It's interfaith work, so feeding people during the winter period. And just seeing, I just think it's amazing just seeing all these different people giving up their time and just feeding people and looking after them and opening up their buildings and just housing people for the night during such a hard period. So I'm just blown away by that. Actually, people working together.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's much needed.
So I've just put some flowers. So I'm just concept of guerrilla gardening, which I think is brilliant, and just gardening in general. So I think I saw a quote someone had written somewhere like saying, it's even on a TV programme actually, but it's like if you plant a garden you're thinking about tomorrow, or you've got hope in tomorrow, and there's just an awful lot of like flowers and gardens. And I think in Hackney, and I think I came across a community garden, and it's sort of Shoreditch area, and it's by Shoreditch High Street train station, and it's a bit of wasteland that I stumbled across that has been transformed into a community gardening project. And it was all these like patches of allotments and flowers, and people were like working on them. It's quite funny, they were all like, you know, joints in one hand, hoe in the other, kind of vintage 50s dress and red lipstick. It's hilarious, and I was like, yeah, I love Hackney, it's so crazy. But it was for this amazing garden, and it was just kind of surrounded by graffiti walls, but it was all these flowers and vegetable patches. And then I cycled through London Fields on my way to work, and that's got this amazing meadow, kind of wildflower meadow that always comes up every summer. And I've just done a sunflower because, again, back to guerrilla gardening, the concept that people just go with sunflower seeds and just put them wherever, and flowers just grow up. And I think, I was living in South London, and it was a thing that people were doing over there, but I'm pretty sure that it's happening all over the city.
Yeah, it is.
That's why.
Yeah.
People just taking, wanting to grow flowers in a city place, and that's beautiful.
It is, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Anyone there? Would you like to
I'll do one.
last?
I can go last. I can go last. Completely unrelated. I just quite like geometric patterns, so I thought I'd make a little window of geometric patterns. I think for me, lots of my university friends left London, and they're like, why are you still living in London, sort of thing. And they assume that you don't really know anyone. They left London feeling like they didn't really have a sense of community, and now they live in the north of England in big houses, and they have a bit of sense of community. And then I realised about church, they're kind of surprised by, or they're like, oh yeah, but you go to church, so that's fine. Because they have gathered from me the sense that I have friends that live nearby, we see each other, we do stuff regularly. It's kind of stable relationships. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, anyone else? I'm going to close the floor in 10 seconds. Anyone?
Thank you.
What if I had nothing to say?
Hopeless.
Where are the bullet points, James?
Well, you need to stand up at the
Yeah,
front.
go on.
I haven't planned a lot to say. We spent a good deal of time discussing, I guess, as many people did, diversity in the city and in Hackney, and the hope that brings, and some of the sort of tensions, but there are still divisions and different groups, but there is this kind of, I think, possibly people coming into Hackney because it's a bit edgy and tricky, might mean that there's a kind of commitment to the place and ownership of it and a desire to be there in a sort of sense of trying to do something, and maybe a lot of the things like the guerrilla gardening or starting up beer breweries and things, just lots of startups, just because people wanted to do something with bits of wasteland or whatever. So I think those
need to keep on sharing these things with one another, particularly at this time when things can be a bit bleak, a bit hopeless. We need to hear those stories of God at work. I think to live well in the city, we need and to engage in these stories of hope and to be active participants in planting hope and in encouraging hope in other people. Those things can be tiring, can be wearying, can be exhausting, unless we go back to our source of hope, Jesus Christ, and find ourselves restored by Him in a daily and regular basis. C.S. Lewis says this. I'm just going to talk a little bit just before I close about sanctuary. In Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis says this: the very moment you wake up each morning, all your wishes and hopes for the day rush at you like wild animals. And the first job each morning consists of shoving them back in the bag and listening to that other voice, taking the other point of view, letting that larger, stronger, quieter life come flowing in. And so on all day, standing back from your natural fussings and frettings, coming in out of the wind. About a year ago, I was walking along the canal towpath near Haggerston, and it was such a typical sort of posture that I was in. So I was kind of had a rucksack on my back, my laptop was there, I had my phone in my hand, and I was going between meetings that were hopeful meetings about working with people who are homeless and doing work with older people. I'm sort of like going along the towpath like this, and I'm checking my phone, and I'm tweeting, and I'm texting, and I'm sort of fussing around all the different things that need to be done, and I'm so busy, and I've got sort of 101 things on my to-do list in my head as I'm heading down the towpath, and I'm frustrated by the slow people who are blocking my way. There are tourists in the way, and then it was almost like a sign from heaven dropped at my feet, which was this: drop your pace. And obviously it's intended for cyclists, but I was like, oh, it's a sign from the Lord calling me to pay attention to what I was doing. Planting hope in the city is a task that keeps us busy. It comes from a place of restlessness, that things are not as they should be, and our activities can feed that restlessness as well. And so what we need to do is have that time to drop our pace, to recover, to reconnect with the source of the one who is bringing hope into our cities, to slow down and find sanctuary in Him each day. And there's a book called, there is a whole movement in the sort of wider world about sort of the slow movement. I mean, it started way back in the 80s, isn't it? The slow food movement, and then there's kind of like a slow leisure movement as well. Taking up things like, slow, like crafting and things like that. And I think as Christians we need to develop a bit of a slow church kind of culture as well. There's a book called In Praise of Slowness, Challenging the Cult of Speed, not written by a Christian. And the author says this: in a high-speed world, reaction rather than reflection is the order of the day. Fast thinking is rational, it's analytical, it's linear and logical, and it delivers solutions to problems. But slow thinking is intuitive and it's creative. It's what we do when the pressure is off, and it yields richer and subtler insights. We need to do fast thinking all the time in our jobs and in our daily lives, but we need to allow time as Christians to do that slow thinking, to listen to that larger, quieter, stronger voice of God in order to direct us and orient us in our activities of hope. We need to slow down to do that. We might feel like doing that is self-indulgent. We might feel that taking time out in our busy schedules is self-indulgent, but actually, if we are slowed down people, we will be a gift to the frenetic world, to the frenetic city that we live in. That difference that we will bring will be an immense gift to the people around us. And so for these last 5 minutes, what I'd like us to do is to consider ourselves, how do we do that? How in your life do you do that? Now for each one of you, that will be different. I recognise those who have small children, your way of taking time to slow down and to listen to that still small voice of God. It's going to be very different to someone who's, a single person who doesn't have children. It's going to be different to someone who's older. There's a whole, our lifestyles, our stage in life is going to be different. It's all going to be different for one another. It's not in terms of our personality and the ways in which we connect with God. It's going to be unique to us, the way in which we connect. But 3 things for us to consider just on our own in these last 5 minutes is this. What is the rhythm in your life that allows you to find that sanctuary, to connect with God and to listen deeply to Him? What is that rhythm on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? Hourly, it might be just engaging in something like the Jesus prayer, just saying the Jesus prayer when you have a moment. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Just that reflective prayer that you might want to say on the hour or something like that. Daily, do you allow, what time do you give just to be still? I find that I can just set a time on my phone for 10 minutes before I leave the house, where I'm not going to say I'm just going to be silent for 10 minutes, just to be still. Now, that might be a luxury that some of you just think that's never going to work, but that's something that I've found is enables me to listen to God more deeply. Or at the end of the day, do you allow yourself, just before you turn off the bedside light, to just reflect on the day and invite God to help you to do that deeper, slower thinking, reflecting back on where God has been at work in your day. What about, so that rhythm of praying, working and resting? You may want to reflect on that. The second thing you might want to reflect on, I just suggest you want to choose one of these things. It's relationship. Whose company do you find sanctuary in? Are you in a small group or a prayer triplet, or do you have friends that you find sanctuary in? And is it that you need to connect with those people more often, or deliberately and intentionally connect with those people to find the sanctuary that you need to sustain the other things that you're doing in your life? And thirdly, retreat. Where do you go to be restored? Is there, where is the quiet place? Near your office or near your home? Is there a park, a little patch of ground? You can just go and sit in maybe for 5 minutes, a lunch break, just to find a mini retreat in the midst of the city. Which one area is God calling you to pay attention to? So I'm just going to just have some music, and then I'll just close in prayer.